Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. We are outside because I can literally not find a quiet place in my house to do this. I typically do videos on true crime, social justice, things that are trending, stuff like that. All of what I'm going to tell you does tie into that. And I know recently you've seen some strange content on my channel and are probably wondering, why is she covering Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star? And I get that you're probably wondering what's happening over here and am I becoming a drama channel? No, the answer is I'm not. The reason that I'm posting these things right now is because much of what I'm going to talk about ties into words that I can't say, okay? YouTube has changed a lot of what they allow and don't allow. So when I can't say a word, I'm going to kind of put it up in one of these corners over here, or I'm going to insert a photo or text for you to be able to read, okay? So, issues that I'm passionate about, you guys already know about those, and if you're new to my channel, abuse and things like that are not tolerated, right? And I believe that victims have a voice and should have a voice, but people should also have the right to defend themselves. So we're going to get into this video, and it is going to be a bit graphic at times, and at those times I will put in, I can't put a trigger warning in because we'll have them all the time, and sometimes you're going to see me running from bugs, so just ignore that part. Okay, so no bugs on my camera. Here we go. During the past several days, we've learned that Shane Dawson has done some really questionable things over the past 15 years. 2 years ago, he started a series with Jeffree Star, which led to their beauty series and release of a beauty line. The series made me feel like these were relatable people. Even though Jeffree Star is super rich, he just felt relatable. He felt like somebody who'd made a lot of mistakes and made a lot of changes, and that could be true. Considering what's been uncovered about Shane, I kind of started thinking about the rumors I had heard about Jeffree. And if you know me, you know that that led me to start searching. There are several people connected to Jeffree that are extremely questionable, their past and their present. I'm going to go through each of them and return at the end of the current situation that led me to all of this, okay? We're going to start with Davi Vanity. He is a former MySpace guy who deemed himself a hair god. This title somehow allowed him to be in contact with women of all ages, including very young ones. And on many occasions, he was able to get to the homes of some of these very young girls and assault them. In 2006, he had started a band. In 2007, he changed the name of the band to what is now known as Blood on the Dance Floor. The band started small, but quickly gained popularity. He met Jeffree between 2009 and 2010. At this time, Davi was being accused of a 10-year-old girl. The girl was named Damien, and her alter ego was Jessie Slaughter. She posted this video on MySpace, and it went viral.
Okay, you guys, this is Jessie Slaughter, and I just wanted to say that you guys have ruined my life.
I'm going to tell you right now, this is from her father. You bunch of lying, no good punks. And I know who it's coming from because I've back traced it. And I know who's emailing and who's doing it. And you've been reported to the cyber police and the state police. So you better write one more thing or screw with my computer again. You'll be arrested. End of conversation from her father.
You're right, fucking gonna come and beat her ass.
And if you come near my daughter, guess what? Consequences will never be the same. You lying bunch of pricks.
See, my house has been like this ever since everybody's been posting stuff about me, okay? I am personally torn. I am torn. I have been having emotional breakdowns one after another for the past, 3 days.
reply to that video, Davi recorded this song. Now, Jeffree and Davi had become friends right around this time, and they decided to collaborate. They went out on tour together in 2010, and yeah, Jeffree was a musician before he was a makeup guru. I had to wonder how Jeffree didn't hear about this back then. Even I heard about it back then, and I was not at all involved in any music scene. In 2011, another video went viral of Jesse apologizing.
Okay. Is it recording? Yeah. Hi Davi, hi Jay, hi Sally, hi the whole VTDF spectrum. It's Jessica Rose, aka Jeffree Star here. I'm saying sorry for everything that I've done. I feel really bad about it now. I'm in foster care. I have been locked up in mental institutions, and just like United Goose said, I do have to go to counseling now and everything, but it's not because of you. So, I'm really sorry for everything that I've done. I'm sorry for accusing you of rape and everything. I know that all that happened. And I'm having this recorded by Oriana because I have no computer privileges now because of foster. And why am I talking with my hands? I'm truly sorry for everything that I've done, and I love VOTDF for basically all the CDs that I have for VOTDF now, so just saying that I'm sorry and everything, and I love you guys to death. I mean, Jay's my idol, Davi's my idol, and Sally inspired this. I shaved it off my head. So, yeah, love you guys. Sorry.
She was taken from her home, placed in a psychiatric ward, and eventually in foster care. I guess Jeffree never saw that either. But if he didn't, and he didn't suspect such things on a serious level, then why, right after the 2010 tour, did he put these tweets out? Jeffree's assistant, Daniel, also confirmed the behavior in a series of tweets of his own. Now, recently, Jeffree did a video with Chris Hansen, Catch a Predator Chris Hansen. They did a YouTube video, an interview, regarding his friend Davi. The reason was because Davi's crimes are finally coming to light. Jeffree was asked about the 2010 tweets, and this was his reply.
Back in the day, there was a lot of crazy rumors about Davi. There was never any criminal charges against him. He was never put in jail for, I know there was one instance, but he never served real jail time. There was no criminal case against him. So there was a moment when a lot of us in the music world were not sure what was really going on. So it was being in that moment of not knowing, really believing it all because it was very believable. But then at the end of the day, there was no proof. So yes, I tweeted out a lot of things. Did I ever see an actual sexual crime? Absolutely not. Did I see weird, inappropriate behavior? Yes. Did I call him a child molester? Yes, because at the time I really believed it. I thought that what people were saying and the weird things that were behind the scenes going on, that they were all true. And later, did I think that some of it was untrue? Yes. And we're going to dive into that, and I'd love to explain why.
Now, as you've heard, Jeffree says he heard various things and there were rumors, but he had only been arrested once. Jeez. He says he never personally witnessed anything himself and that he was never friends with Davi. He was very close to Jay and other members, but never to Davi. Now, a band called Necromantic that toured with Blood on the Dance Floor and knew Jeffree made a video recently that they later deleted and said Jeffree was fully aware because everybody was. He goes on to say that there were plenty of rumors regarding Jeffree's behavior with minors as well.
It was a universal thing to know that Blood on the Dance Floor, Javon Moore, and Davi were shock rockers. They wanted to follow in the footsteps of Marilyn Manson. And they didn't care what fans they had because they needed whatever fans. Jeffree picked up Davi because Davi was talented musically, and he needed that. That's why he worked with him again after he went on tour and witnessed all the horrible things. That's why he worked with him again, because he needed that musical talent to perpetuate his musical career, which he would not need later on in life because he would make the makeup. They were so incredibly close that it is mind-boggling that the people from the time don't remember. How do you guys not remember all the emo kids that were living in LA or anywhere or on tour, Warped Tour? How do you guys not remember them being so close? Everyone knew everything that was going on. Everybody in my band knew everything that was going on. Okay? Everybody around knew what was the entire time I was in LA. This was public knowledge. Jeffree knew. Jeffree always knew. Jeffree didn't care. Jeffree cared about the almighty dollar. Jay knew as well. Jay cared about the almighty dollar. Although we did not witness any actual, although we witnessed appropriate things. I was young at the time, and one of the things that I saw was mothers would bring their daughters to lose these two band members that they thought were, their idols. And so the idea of where to get these girls, where were the parents? The parents were helping. Usually it was a threesome situation. Jeffree said that, and he was not wrong. Jeffree, also, if he knows that, then how the f*** do you say you didn't know that he was doing it? You know one thing, but you don't know the other? I'm calling bullshit. Oh my God, I had the great.
In 2012, Jeffree went back on tour with the band again. He claims he reached out to two members of the band before he ever agreed. He said he reached out to Jay because that was his friend, as well as the violinist, who was an older lady and a mother. He says that he confirmed with them that Davi had never done any of these things, that they had never seen anything, so he agreed to go back on tour.
I think I would love to explain why I worked with him again, because people don't understand that.
Let's go there. You send out these tweets, and yet in 2012, I believe, correct? You go back out on tour and essentially make public statements that
and a lot of people want
a good guy, and you're supporting him at this point. Well, how do you square that with people who question?
Yeah, well, a lot of people know I'm very dramatic, and I say things all the time in a very grandiose manner. So everyone wants me to address every single tweet. Let's go. Me calling Davi my brother, that's just me being dramatic. Davi was never my brother. We were never best friends. You can think that 100% not the case. But let's talk about me tweeting that he's a monster and then working with him again. So when I was doing my last tours, there was a big list, right? Who was gonna play the opening bands before me?
Now here's something. Jay also went on to the Chris Hansen show and was asked specifically about Jeffree's role in all of this and whether he knew anything, and he was asked to address the 2010 tweets. Here's what he said.
Jeffree Star aspect of this story, and I touched on it in my video, and but I didn't have all the facts, and people kind of corrected me and said, you know, when Jeffree Star tweeted what he tweeted about Davi being a pedophile, Jeffree worked with him afterwards, which shocked me. I thought it was, you know, Jeffree worked with him and then tweeted that and then it was over, because that, to me, I couldn't imagine, even on Davi's end, working with someone who said that about me. I want to read a few of the tweets that Jeffree put out, and this was in, I think, 2011 or 2012. He said, I'm going to speak the truth till I die. We saw Davi Vanity bring underage girls to his hotel room and do sexual things, 100% illegal. So that's an eyewitness account, according to Jeffree. He also said, being on tour with that child effer has made me see the truth. I regret ever doing a song with that pig. If you support him, unfollow me, et cetera, et cetera. So, like, what is the Jeffree piece in your eyes, Jay, and just your experience?
Well, that's interesting. I reached out before you get started, Jay, to Jeffree Star to get his input into all this. Obviously, a very famous social media guy and influencer in media and music. What was the story there, Jay?
You know, it's kind of like a little disjointed because we did all those tours with him. It was like, I think, like our third tour with Jeffree. And at the end, the very last day, the show ends and then all of that stuff gets tweeted. And then fast forward, like maybe like a year later, we were doing Warped Tour for the first time. And Jeffree was there with his merch company, like selling his t-shirts and stuff. And one day he just walked onto our bus on Warped Tour and, you know, was just being very social. And I was just like, I thought a fight was going to break out. But Davi just was like, went right back into being like total like fake with him, was like total like girlfriends all over again. And I was like, I don't get that. But
what do you think was going on there, Jay?
I have no idea. I have never talked to Jeffree about it. Me and Jeffree were not really that close. We just toured together and we would hang out, like, you know, like at the events and stuff. We weren't really like close friends or anything. But that whole thing made no sense to me because Jeffree just like came back like nothing had ever happened. So I was like, okay, I guess just like water under the bridge. I guess you called him a rapist, so like. That's fine. I was like more shocked that Davi wasn't more ill-responsive to it, because he's so hot-headed about everything. But I think because like he knows that like being friends with Jeffree would like benefit him in some way, he just kind of forgave it.
Yeah, I think that was the confusing part, was just the timeline for people who are like, then okay, then that's one of two things that are possible, which is that Jeffree lied, which is one possibility, or that Jeffree doesn't care. Or I guess the third possibility would be that Davi somehow convinced Jeffree that what he thought was true about his sexual predation towards young girls wasn't true. So it's really only three possibilities. I think people are just really confused.
I don't think they ever talked about it like one-on-one or anything at all.
Weird.
Like, it went straight. Yeah, it went straight to, like, and Jeffree never publicly apologized for
that. Would have caused some friction and a fight on the tour bus along the way.
I would think so. And he didn't even like bring a bodyguard with him or anything. He just walked on by himself. I was like, brave.
Well, like Chris is saying too, though. Chris, you said that you reached out to Jeffree. We, of course, reached out to him for both of our pieces, and he never responded. So that's, you know, it is what it is. But
Jeffree.
Jay, so I've got another question for you.
So, Jay says he barely knew Jeffree, that Jeffree never addressed any of the tweets, acted like nothing had ever happened, and him and Davi were acting like the best of friends again. So who's telling the truth? What would Jay have to lose? On the other hand, what would Jeffree have to lose? Those are questions you're going to have to ask yourself all throughout this video. That one instance alone, I could give him the benefit of the doubt and say maybe he didn't fully know at the time what was going on. But as you know, once you begin pulling a thread, everything begins to unravel. The next person that I came across was Hunter Moore. Hunter was the owner of a website called Is Anyone Up? Hunter Moore and his partner, collaborator, Chris Evans, who went by the name Gary Jones, were arrested by federal authorities and charged with the following: multiple counts of conspiracy, unauthorized access to protected computers to obtain information, and aggravated identity theft. Nice guys. Not only did they reveal humiliating photos of age and underage girls and boys, they delivered a second blow when they linked the subjects' names, addresses, places of employment if they had one, social media accounts, all to their photos. This caused the victims extreme distress and was accomplished. This is what they wanted to do. Before it was effectively shut down in April of 2012, the site received 300 to 350,000 visitors a day wanting to see these dox photos of these people. It was crazy. How is Jeffree connected to Hunter? Well, in a couple of ways, actually. First, Jeffree himself often submitted photos to Is Anyone Up, tagged them in tweets all the time. Second, he's been accused of trying to, at knife point, according to a book that Hunter wrote. Another person, Danny, confirmed that Jeffree did come out of the room and threw a knife at Hunter's head. So, as you've seen, Jeffree's uploaded and submitted photos of people that either he's hooked up with or knew about or somehow obtained pictures of. Considering the owners of the site were arrested, it's safe to say that what they were doing at the time was criminal. Let's move on to another friend of Jeffree's around this time, Ian Watkins. He might be the worst one. Ian now lives at Her Majesty's Prison in Wakefield, England. He was convicted of many things. Again, I'm going to show you rather than read these out loud. How is he connected to Jeffree? Not directly from what I could find. However, Jeffree definitely knew him during the time he was committing these crimes. Perez Hilton posted a doctored photo of Ian where it seemed he was doing something inappropriate to a female, and shortly after that, Jeffree tweeted this. He also tweeted these messages. Now I have to ask you, if he wasn't aware of any of Ian's behaviors, why did he send those tweets? He infers that they had been together in a sexual manner. Some of the women that were with Ian said that he was in no way shy about any of his views and the things that he wanted to do. I'm going to insert some of that here as well. So does that mean that Jeffree knew what this man was up to? Again, I will ask you to make your own assumptions. Another friend is a man named Jonathan Hawk. He was on a site called stickem.com and he live streamed himself a woman. Jeffree also tweeted about this. Another friend, Ashley Purdy, is currently being accused of many times during the years that Jeffree Star knew him. These are all the way up to current day accusations right now. Okay, last is William Control, the lead singer of an emo band called Aiden. He worked on and released an album called Noir in June of 2010. He invited that band New Year's Day and Jeffree Star to his release party. Jeffree was actually featured on the song Dorian Gray. William has been accused of running a cult, a sex cult, who are groomed by other girls. They're brainwashed and branded with his initials and pledged to obey him. He's addressed this issue and says it was all BSDM and it was nothing like that. Let's return to Davi. According to one person, she's gathered over 100 victim statements. The lead singer from that band, New Year's Day, also compiled 30 witness statements several years back. She brought them to the police in California. They declined to do anything because the victims were all over the country and some out of the country. And after 2 years, they destroyed the evidence. Currently, victims are coming forward, and they're coming forward on YouTube channels. I believe that this, with Davi's name beginning to gain traction on Twitter, is the only reason that Jeffree Star ever came out about this at all. It's not as though people weren't trying to bring this to his attention well before this recent publicity. They were. The Huffington Post reached out to him for a story they did in 2019 for a comment, and he never got back to them.
Chris, you said that you reached out to Jeffree. We, of course, reached out to him for both of our pieces, and he never responded. So that's, it is what it is. But
Jeffree.
Jay, so
if the victim stories were important and he wanted Davi put away, as he said, then why didn't he ever respond to them? Am I blaming Jeffree for what happened to them? No. But I do feel like many people failed them. Police, the musicians who were around them and aware at the time of all of this that was going on, their parents who declined to get involved. Being assaulted stays with you forever. These ladies are brave, and I commend them for taking the risk of coming forward in such a public way, and I hope that they get the justice they deserve. And I just want to say, I know that this video is coming off as me saying, Jeffree, you're to blame for all their actions. And I don't want to say that. But as a mother, and as someone who was so impressed with Shane's series and discussed it with my daughter and said, you know, look at this guy. He had a really bad past and he had no money and he pulled himself up and he did all these great things. He's an inspiration. To look at the current situation that's happening right now with Tati Westbrook and Shane Dawson and James Charles, and to think, where is Jeffree in all of this? Everybody's pointing that he's the ringleader, he's the manipulator, he's the one who's pulling all the strings behind the scenes. Blair White came out with a video and she was terrified for her life. Tati Westbrook came out with a video and said she's had to move twice. Something is not right with Jeffree Star. I don't know why they're so afraid of him, but they both claim that he has information and blackmail on everybody. Now, in a clip that you heard, people have accused Jeffree of doing very inappropriate things with younger males. Whether or not that's true, I have absolutely no idea. And I never went into this video thinking that that is something that Jeffree would do. Yes, I think he's manipulative. Yes, I think that he's a little evil. And yes, I think that he loves attention and does some of that evil stuff just for attention. But to go so far as to call him a predator or to say that he did those things, I can't do that. What I can say is, if you surround yourself, just from 2010 till now, the quality of the people who he chose to have in his life are extremely questionable. They are convicted and accused. That is extremely concerning. Shane Dawson. Recently, a podcast clip came out saying that Shane claims that he was also, but he doesn't know by who. And he in turn used to do things to other children in his neighborhood.
So yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out. And it's really, really sad. But I mean, I guess it's better to know. Try to figure it out.
Yeah.
Than suppress it forever.
That's tough, though, that sense that this happened, but you don't know from who. What did your family say?
Yeah, it's like a faceless person. Well, there was a... hi, the dog just ran in. We were just talking about molesting. Hi. There was a guy on our street who was a convicted child molester who went to jail. So, like, that is obviously an option.
Yeah.
There was a couple neighbors. But I also would molest kids on my street. So there's, like, a list that my therapist took me through of, like, things that you would do if you had been molested. It was like, you know, you don't like the feeling of wetness on your face, which I hate. If somebody tries to do makeup on me or like squirt water, I hate it. They're like, oh, you shut down around certain people. You don't like this kind of weather. It's like a list. And
There's weather that people
There's
don't
like a
like?
weather thing.
Which is the weather? I feel like I have that one.
Humidity. It's humidity. You don't like humidity because you feel like you're suffocating. There was all these things, and I literally was everything on that list.
Wow.
Wow, that's crazy. But yeah, so the person who was, I don't know, I don't think it was anybody in my family, honestly. But there's a lot of people, most of which are dead, that lived really close to me, and yeah. But I would molest kids on my street. And that's another thing that they say that kids who are sexually abused do. Like, I would like make kids on my street like take their pants off and I'd spank them or like do weird shit to them. And it didn't feel weird at the time, but looking back, I'm like, ew. I was like molesting kids. I was a kid too.
Were they your peers?
Yeah, I was probably 8 and they were 7 or something.
Right.
And I apologized to them. I found them on Facebook. I'm like,
You
sorry
did?
for molesting you.
Did they remember?
They're like, one of them did. One of them was like, yeah, that's why my family made me stop hanging out with you. And I'm like, oops.
I found that very hard to understand. Not that if he was and he did those things, that made sense. But for him to go on for so many years and joke about that. Was Jeffree unaware of that too? Was Jeffree unaware of these disgusting jokes that Shane made all these years? Jeffree and Shane have been on the platform fairly about the same amount of time, and I don't know how long they've known each other. But it's just, again, a repeat of the type of person that Jeffree has around himself. At the end of the day, you need to make the decision on what you believe. And really, we need to be pushing the message of these victims out there. Whether they're the victims of William Control or Davi Vanity, their voices need to be heard. So we can't let the famous names, Shane and Jeffree, take over the message of, hey, wait, these women are coming out and they're trying to tell their story. Let's not just make it about the gossip and drama, even though, I get it. That's interesting. I've been covering it myself. I just feel like it's really important, So go look up the stories. I'm going to put as many links as I can in the description. Support these women. Go to the channels that are helping to tell their stories and support them. Tweet it. Put it on your Facebook. Tell somebody. And if you know somebody who's been a victim, talk to them. Encourage them to come forward.